DreamMachine. My name is Arun.
And my name is Patricia.
Okay, and do forgive us, everybody. Patricia's still recovering from her illness.
I'm still sick. Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to try and do some activities to make us feel better. So, shall we get into the next? Shall we get into the next installment of our Madagascar series?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go. So Madagascar Escape to Africa is a 2008 computer-animated and epic adventure comedy drama film produced by DreamWorks Animation. It is a sequel to Madagascar, and it stars Ben Stiller once again as Alex, Chris Rock once again as Marty, David Schwimmer once again as Melman, and Jada Pinkett Smith once again as Georgia. We also get the return of Sacha Baron Cohen as King Julian, and also we get some other returning names as well. So, going into the sequel, obviously they pretty much teased this at the end of the last film, for basically when they said that there's going to be there was like no gas in the ship or anything. So obviously we just smile and wave and wait for another reason to start up the sequel, and so we have got this. So my overall thought, I think, on Madagascar Escape to Africa right now is that I think people are kind of just there for the characters and not really there for kind of like the story.
Yeah, not really. I mean, we even mentioned this in the last episode of Dream Machine that it's the slapstick and the characters that really got people into the Madagascar series, not so much as the story, because the story is pretty basic.
Mm-hmm. So instead of they still are in Madagascar, and then they board a plane, and then they crash land, and now they end up in Africa. So not a defined particular part of Africa, just Africa.
Yes, welcome to Africa, the place of Africa.
Yeah, it's just like this is kind of. Does DreamWorks see the world the same way that Dr. Rabbit's World Tour kind of sees the world, kind of like it's. Do you remember those shorts? That short film from Colgate?
No, sorry.
No, you never seen it. Okay, so Colgate did this educational quote-unquote film of like looking after your teeth, and it was like their mascot Dr. Rabbit going around the world and telling kids about how to look after their teeth and stuff, and going to the dentist every month or 6 months or something like that. So it was made fun of a lot, and I mean a lot, on YouTube. Like, if you just Google if you just put Dr. Rabbit into YouTube, I think you'll find there's a lot of people making fun of him, pretty much. But yeah, it was one of those things. But going back to Madagascar, it was I think the way that it starts out, I think, is actually quite surprising, because it gives you pretty much the serious story first, pretty much.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like he's like,
it gives actually backstory to Alex.
Yeah, it's like, so we start with Alex's proper backstory. Like, he was the son, pretty much you could say the crown prince, I guess you could say, of the alpha lion, and then obviously he gets distracted, and then Alex ends up getting captured by hunters, and then there's that whole chase scene, and then he gets put in a box, and then the box lands in the river. The river goes out into the ocean, and then all of a sudden he lands up in New York City.
Yeah, very convenient, right?
Yeah, it's like
he probably would have been dead.
How many? It's kind of like you remember that episode? You remember the whole new world scene in Aladdin, like where they fly on that magic carpet, and they seem to like fly like halfway around the world. Yes. Like on it, like they must have that. I would swear that box and that magic carpet must have going like 10,000 miles an hour, just to get to where they wanted to go. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like, so yeah, it's animation is weird, ladies and
gentlemen.
I
mean, I even mentioned this in the when we were doing Pix Mix about Finding Dory, about how are they going to get from Australia to California? It's like, oh, let's take the East Australian current. It's like, what? Which current is this again? It's I don't know. It's like cartoon logic.
Yeah. So that's so they pretty much they just land in Africa, and there's this undefined part of Africa. There's Mount Kilimanjaro seems to be there from the looks of it.
Okay,
So
specifically where it is.
Yeah, so it's like in that specific part of Africa, and so it's so then they meet up with this. They end up meeting like kind of like they're all their own species, their own kind, and they're in their ancestral homeland, and
Yeah. Okay, so we have Marty. He's with a whole bunch of zebra who are just like him, and it's scary.
that's
Then we have,
creepy, isn't it?
yeah, it's very scary. Then we have Gloria who meets up with this like strong like what was it, like a hippo or something? Yeah, a strong hippo. And then we have Melman who's like the doctor
Yeah.
because of course he is.
Yeah, so like they made him into like a witch doctor, and apparently they're all saying that he then got this witch doctor curse, and that leads into something really stupid later. So just stay tuned for that. And then you
And then, of
have
course, and then we have Alex, and he reunites with his family, which I didn't expect to see this from, this movie.
well, it's I will admit the that is kind of like what I like about the film a little bit. That there's this kind of touching moment between Alex and his family meeting back up together and realizing that this is his. Mind you, I would have preferred that they would have gone further into this. To be honest,
Yeah,
with
me
you.
too.
That's where the main story is. Like everything.
I think that remember what we talked about in the last episode of Dream Machine. It's like I think that it would have been better if it was like a buddy cop, kind of situation. It was just only Alex and Marty. And I think that with Madagascar 2, it seems a lot more apparent that it would have been because maybe it would have had a lot more focus on Alex. We would have had like a more dramatic side, and then for Marty, we would have had more of the comedy side.
Yeah, it's the other stories aren't all that interesting. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't really care too much about Melman's story. I don't really care too much about Gloria's story. The lemurs, it's like I pretty much forgot that they were even there. The
yeah.
penguins, they were fun with whatever they had to do. But the one that I really remembered was Alex's story. He was the one that had the best story out of the bunch.
It's kind of like in the Pokemon movies. Those lemurs. Like it was like when Team Rocket were kind of like, oh yeah, they're kind of there. But at least with Team Rocket, at least they were what they did when they're on their side skits was funny. While where these lemurs, it's kind of like nah. It's just kind of like they're just there just for convenience in some
Yeah,
way.
and it feels like they've been there a little bit longer than in the first movie because I take it that this is when Sacha Baron Cohen's popularity started to skyrocket with Borat.
Yeah, and so so story wise, I mean, just going through all the elements of it all. So you got those that we've just described before. Then you got the monkeys that are somehow back. Like,
Yeah,
how did the monkeys appear?
I don't have a clue.
Like,
Like seriously, how did they get here without the plane?
yeah, and how did they get there? Period. Like, they just seems to be just there once again for comedic, just for comedy relief. Like,
Yeah,
there's no
one that
explanation for
surprised
them.
yeah, one that surprised me that was there was the old woman from the first movie who
Yeah,
was like beating up Alex in the Grand Central Station. It's like how does she get there? And
isn't that another question as well? Who's the main villain in this film?
I
Like,
I mean, okay, so I think we kind of have like two main villains. So
well, I
one
think we
is
have
the
three because you could say that was that lemur king trying to sacrifice Melvin to the volcano. You guess you could say was kind of evil
um
intended.
I
I,
guess so. Yeah, sure. So there's that. The second one is obviously the old lady and the tourists who are going absolutely insane. And then the third one is another lion who wants Alex to take a test so that he can be able to stay within the herd, the pride. I'm sorry. So yeah, we have that, and yeah, there's too much stuff going on,
yeah,
and I think that the
it's,
problem is that with them adding so much stuff in it, that the main focus kind of gets lost.
doesn't it feel a lot like an anime movie? Like like one of those like really long anime movies that goes on for like 2 or 3 hours. And
Yeah,
like,
but there's a difference though. You see, anime movies, especially if we were talking about like with Ghibli or something, yeah, they're long, but they compensate the fact that they're using the atmosphere to talk and to tell a story. But it's using too many
yeah, but
characters It's
Exactly,
using
but this is the thing. Like, so I mean, you're gonna tell a story about Alex is finding out that he's got a family and finding out all that stuff. Gloria's position of trying to find a mate in life. Melvin's story of becoming a witch doctor and confessing his love to Gloria. Then you've got another one of Marty's trying to discover his originality, and so you've got. And also you got who barely got any screen time. You got those New Yorkers as well that were going around the outside of the game reserve, and so you've got kind of like 5 stories currently going on, and you've only got 89 minutes to tell it all.
Yeah, this movie is like way too overstuffed.
It's just
It really needed to like lean back a lot of things in order for it to be like very cohesive.
I'm really surprised that. Yeah, I'm surprised people didn't walk out of the film thinking like, oh well. The only way I can think they probably walked out of the film enjoying it is that they just got to see the favorite characters again. Oh, by the way, there's a 6th element in it as well: the bloody penguins and the monkeys and putting that plane back together.
Yeah, and that's going to be important for the 3rd movie. That's for sure.
Yeah, it will be, and also it'll be probably somewhat important, I guess, for when they have their own spin-off film. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so that story happens, and it's just these like little. I guess you could say it's kind of like. I mean, I don't really want to relate it to this, but do you remember that Beauty and the Beast sequel film? Yeah, and it was just kind of like a pilot for like Beauty and the Beast.
You're talking Belle's Magical World.
Bell's Magical World. Yeah, it's sort of kind of like I guess you could say it's kind of a more put together version of that. I guess you could say. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny because I think the Penguins of Madagascar TV series came out around the same time.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe like they tried to like because they had like 4 characters. They had like not just the main 4 characters, but they also had the penguins and the lemurs and the monkeys. It's like they're trying to focus like on way too many characters and. I don't know. I mean, like the Penguins of Madagascar, the TV series is mostly focused on the penguins, the lemurs, and I think maybe a monkey character, but that was pretty much it. And I think that, for an animated series, it could work because, you could have focus on like maybe like one of the characters or maybe a handful of them, but not in a movie in which you have to focus on like 20 different characters and go into 20 different side plots.
I mean, it's kind of like, okay, guys, we've got the Melvin story, the Alex story, the Marty story. We've also got the other stories as well, and we've got the penguins, and we've got the monkeys, and we've got like, let's throw them all out there, and let's see which one flies with the audience, and then we'll make that into a TV series. And I guess you could say the penguins won, maybe. That's the only way I could think the logic of this, the way this film was put together. The way I look at it.
The penguins won, and the lemurs came in second.
Yeah, pretty much.
And the Marty, Alex, Melman, and Gloria, they don't count, and they're nowhere any. They are in the series, but not very much.
Yeah, they'll probably only count. Well, the reason they probably don't count is because they probably pay, Ben Stiller and Chris Rock and David Swimmer probably be too much money to like create a TV series out of everyone. Maybe that's my only thought about that. But, so the music, the characters in this film, I think we can say that there's far too many of them. And
I mean, like we said, our favorite one was Alex because he actually had a great story.
Yeah, and we just don't know who our main villain is in all of this.
No, there's too many of them.
Yeah, at least within the film. I mean, you could say, it's far too late for me, but that woman who comes in and beats the hell out of the other lion, like at the very end, it's kind of too late for me to like.
I think that I think that the main focus of who the villain was the lion. I think that he was supposed to be like the main villain.
But you could argue King Julian was also kind of like villainous as well because he wanted to take over this whole new world and become the king, and he was willing to sacrifice Melvin in order to appease them. Like
I don't know.
There's no defined villain. I think you could say in this film, at least in my opinion. You could say it was the lion, but for me, storyline wise, I think we could probably point fingers at many devilish intents here. I think. So yeah.
So let's see. I mean, let's talk about some of the voice acting in this because believe it or not, this was actually Bernie Mac. He played as Alex's father. This was one of his last roles right before he passed away.
Yeah, it was. And sorry, who was that again?
Bernie Mac.
Bernie Mac. Oh yeah, it was.
He's a very well-known comedian. He was very well known for his TV series back in the day, The Bernie Mac Show. And yeah, this was he was known for like being really snarky and really funny. And here he's played very like very laid down, like very dramatic and very straight. And it's actually very surprising to see that because if you see him on The Bernie Mac Show, it's actually quite shocking.
Yeah, I think in later life, I think you could say that you could say he's very capable of playing more mellow, kind of like elder characters, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
yeah, so I think he had that going for him, and I think that's the way they played him, and so it was yeah, it was a good way to play him. Like I'm glad they didn't go the whole like they didn't play him to like probably what happened in the Bernie Mac show because then he's like, oh, let's just give him
Oh
another
my
run.
God. If they would have played him on the Bernie Mac show, he would have been just as cocky, just as overconfident. He would have been just as snarky. Like, oh man,
I think we wouldn't have liked him. I think in this,
no.
I think amongst all the other characters who are losing their minds at the minute, I think he was probably. I'm glad he was the. It's funny enough. Like you think Bernie Mac, like he's out of everyone who's currently losing their minds in this film, he's the one who's sane.
Like what universe is this?
Yeah, universe is Madagascar, of course. But yeah, so the characters in this, there's far too many of them. Like for me, and I only just realised now that one of the people who played Maurice's eye was Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah.
Like I only just realised that now. And Alec Baldwin played Macunda, the lion.
Yeah.
In this. So yeah, it's convoluted, and it needed more focus. And I think if it meant writing out characters, then I think that's what they should have done. But that's just my thought on it. So music, Hans Zimmer still has his hand in this as well, and so he does play up the good moments in this. Like like at the beginning, like the way he introduces us to the world was very good, and the way he played up the danger was very good too. And the emotions that he gave us before when Alex meets up with his parents again, that was a good touch. Yeah, it's but besides that, unfortunately, I still had to play. I like to move it. I like to move it, and then play all the 8 tracks as well, like all older things. So it's like. And I know that probably fits okay with like Guardians of the Galaxy and like other kind of like out there films, but not really with Madagascar. I don't think for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, performance-wise, it did 150 million at the box office and did 603 million worldwide. So
That's true.
Say it was a success, I guess. And so yeah, but besides that, I mean, it has its fun moments, but I wouldn't say it's a well put together film. I think it's just basically there just to kind of entertain people character wise and just tell jokes, really. But besides that, there's no. I mean, the main focus we really wanted it to go on didn't really do it for us. So.
Oh well, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, you can't say that they didn't try. They just tried a little too hard.
Yeah, I think this is something that should have gone on for longer than 89 minutes, and even then, I think it probably would have been too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. So that's concludes on a very quick edition for this week. So,
I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, I'm sure we would have gone a lot longer, but I mean, we would have been here for much more.
Well, this is the thing. Like, if you look at all the story elements they try to shove in, and they only gave so much to it. Like, I think we've given it fair dues. I think to all the things we need to talk about, really, because there's no way to like kind of stretch out any of the 6 or 7 story arcs that are in this.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I mean, I know that we could have talked a lot more in detail of this, but I don't think that we could have like done it justice.
No, not really. So, from me, Aaron.
And Patricia.
Until next week, take care and bye for now.
See you later.